On this Tuesday night, helter-swelter, the heat alerts affecting millions of Canadians.
I'm barely surviving.
The devastating wildfires, one northern Ontario community burned to the ground, and seniors' homes struggling without air conditioning. A tiny parasite causing a big problem.
Any kind of produce can be contaminated with it.
The rising cases in the U.S. and why Canadian officials say the risk here is low. Court order why this Alberta Separatist assets have been temporarily frozen. Plus, dino-sized sail, the rare fossil just auctioned off to a private collector.
Gus is one of the biggest and most complete T-Rex ever found.
And why some scientists have a bone to pick with it.
Global National with Donna Friesen.
Good evening and thanks for joining us. We begin with breaking news out of northwestern Ontario, where wildfires are sweeping through several communities, prompting mass evacuations. There are some harrowing images coming from communities north of Thunder Bay. Many residents there were forced to flee by boat as roads burned around them. Ontario Provincial Police say they are assisting in evacuating several communities, including a number of First Nations, and many roads and highways have been shut down. Local MPPs describe the situation as devastating. They say one community, Collins, has burned to the ground, but that everyone got out safely. Record-setting temperatures across huge swaths of Canada are pushing conditions to the extreme. There are both heat alerts and air quality alerts across most of Ontario today and extending into parts of Manitoba and Saskatchewan. Even the far north is on alert, with temperatures pushing 30 degrees in parts of the Northwest Territories this week. Potentially dangerous storms are brewing too, and the exceptional heat and humidity in Ontario is breaking records. Jeff Semple is there with our top story tonight.
It was a sweaty semi-final. At the FIFA Fan Festival site in Toronto, crowds gathered to watch France take on Spain in the World Cup. But shade was in short supply.
There's just one tree, so everybody's gathered under the tree.
No, we don't want to get bright. It's so hot today.
Millions of Canadians across 5 provinces and 1 territory are facing weather alerts, warning of poor air quality from wildfires darkening the skies in Quebec and Ontario, along with thunderstorms and extreme heat.
From Wawa to Windsor, from Moosonee to Midland, we're seeing these excruciating temperatures, but particularly in northern Ontario.
In Winnipeg, the heat even caused roads to explode. Manitoba's streets are built to withstand temperatures up to plus 40. But after 4 days of extreme heat and humidity, the expansion joints hit their limit.
It's the duration of this thing that is concerning.
Toronto is flirting with its all-time temperature record of 38.3 degrees, which was set way back at Pearson Airport in 1948. Fortunately, the city comes with a number of built-in ways to beat the heat.
Torontonians sought refuge in pools and city-run cooling centers. But for those working outside, relief was harder to come by, including at the city's hotspot, Pearson International Airport, where the tarmac was over 58 degrees.
We're making sure that the workers out on the airfield are getting extra breaks, getting inside for water.
In Winnipeg, several seniors' care homes lost their air conditioning after a mechanical issue. This woman's mother lives in one of them.
We noticed it was really hot in the dining room, and then her room got up to 85 degrees, and they had no fans or anything. My mom has dementia, and she's not really aware of her body temperature.
This country has seen an unusually high number of heat warnings so far this year, with the traditionally hottest dog days of summer still ahead. Jeff Semple, Global News, Toronto.
The impact from this heat and the smoke from wildfires is being felt across a large part of Canada. Global News meteorologist Anthony Farnell is tracking it for us.
Donna, we've been tracking this heat dome for days, starting in the prairies, now extending around the Great Lakes into the province of Quebec. Temperatures at times close to records, 36 degrees still in Toronto, 35 in Sudbury, Thunder Bay 34, down from a high of 40 yesterday. So it is very hot, and time again, we get the heat dome first, and then fires break out. And that is what we've seen across a big section of northwestern Ontario. often caused by lightning strikes. And this is a bit of a ring of fire here on the northern edge of that heat dome. You get thunderstorms erupting. We have a risk of severe weather in southwestern Quebec, including a tornado threat for Montreal and surrounding areas on this Tuesday evening. So you get storms and then you get lightning strikes, and look at the amount of fires, and all of that smoke is headed for southern parts of Ontario. It is going to be some of the worst air quality in the world over the next couple of days. At times, the sun's rays may be blocked out. So a lot of smoke coming to the populated area of southern Ontario through the end of the week. Donna?
All right, Global News meteorologist Anthony Farnell, thank you. Smoke from wildfires in Ontario and Minnesota is drifting south. The National Weather Service in New York State is warning it could increase this week, reducing visibility and air quality there. Parts of British Columbia are at an extra risk of new wildfires over the next 2 days.
We cannot be complacent. We are heading into a period of dry weather, wind, and storms.
Dry lightning and strong winds are expected in the southern two-thirds of BC. The wildfires of greatest concern right now are the Brunswick Creek and Ainslie Creek fires. They are both out of control. They burned nearly 20,000 hectares combined and forced hundreds from their homes. British Columbians are being asked to use less water to conserve the supply. In the U.S., there is still no certainty about the source of an intestinal parasite that's made thousands of people sick. It's called Cyclospora, and it's usually spread through eating fresh and raw produce contaminated with the parasite. The outbreak seems to be worse in Michigan and is now spreading to other states, though it has not reached Canada. Catherine Ward explains what to watch for.
This outbreak has been growing over the past several weeks, with cases starting in May. As of July 14th, Michigan health officials reported more than 3,300 cases in that state, with 669 infections recorded since Monday alone. Reports up until July 9th indicate 44 people have been hospitalized and no one has died from the infection. Nationally, the CDC says they are aware of 5,100 cases that require further analysis. The tiny parasite responsible is invisible to the human eye and commonly found on fresh produce.
Previous outbreaks have been pinned on raspberries and other fruit, lettuce, as well as different herbs, surprisingly.
Part of the challenge is the incubation period can be between 2 and 14 days.
It's a challenge because if you ask people what they ate 7 to 14 days ago, people have a hard time remembering.
If you do get hit, symptoms are unpleasant and can include cramping, fever, and abdominal pain.
Usually it's watery diarrhea. It can come on fairly suddenly and be quite profuse. And that diarrhea can last for, weeks sometimes.
Health officials have not been able to identify the origin of the outbreak in the United States. One hypothesis is lettuce or salad greens could be the source. As of Monday, the Public Health Agency of Canada says they are not investigating any Cyclospora outbreaks in Canada. Scientists say the risk in Canada remains relatively low.
Typically, this is not person-to-person transmitted.
Cyclospora is unique in that it needs to sit in a field under ideal conditions for about 2 weeks before it becomes infectious. And Canada isn't hot enough for it to sit in a Canadian field and become infectious.
Catherine Ward, Global News, Toronto.
There are still more than 24 First Nations in this country that do not have a reliable source of clean drinking water, despite all the political promises over the years to end long-term drinking water advisories. First Nations leaders gathered in Ottawa are now trying to work out if the latest promise from the Carney government, the Clean Water Act, will be different. David Aiken explains.
Justin Trudeau took office in 2015, vowing to eliminate all long-term drinking water advisories in First Nations communities. He did not succeed. Many were lifted, but as of June 4th, there were still 36 First Nations where residents cannot drink the water.
Frankly, that's 36 too many.
An act respecting water.
So earlier this summer, the Carney government tabled Bill C-37, the First Nations Clean Water Act.
Bill C-37 is intended to help prevent future advisories while creating a stronger foundation for safe drinking water for generations to come.
C-37 does not affirm drinking water as a human right, which many here want, but it would create new legal rights for First Nations over their water resources. Ottawa is also providing nearly $7 billion over 5 years in new money for First Nations water systems, most of which comes with the passage of C-37. It is a different approach than the Trudeau government. And for many here gathered in Ottawa this week, different does not necessarily mean better.
I don't know what this legislation does, actually, to get rid of those last remaining things and keep that ongoing. This is a lot of fluff, in my opinion, and not a lot of action.
Many chiefs were sharply critical, including the chief of Niskanjika First Nation, where a drinking water ban has been in place for 35 years, longest ever.
C-37 is just another act, another policy that's trying to protect the government on their wrongdoings.
The Carney Liberals, though, have a majority in the House, but even with that, the chiefs here are not expecting this new clean water bill to become law until Christmas 2027. David Aiken, Global News, Ottawa.
One of the most prominent voices in Alberta's separatist movement will be in a courtroom this week after a judge ordered a temporary freeze on millions of dollars of his assets. Court documents show the freeze is related to Jeffrey Rath's work as a lawyer with a Northern Alberta First Nation. Adam MacVicar explains.
Yeah, no, what a pleasure. He's one of the leading figures fighting for Alberta to leave Canada, but it's Jeffrey Rath's work as a lawyer that has him fighting in court over trust money from a First Nations treaty settlement. On Friday, a Court of King's Bench justice in Calgary granting an interim order against Rath and his company, temporarily freezing up to $8.5 million of Rath's assets, including bank accounts, vehicles, real estate, and shares. The court found there were reasonable grounds to believe assets could be moved or dissipated before any judgment in the dispute.
This is a rare court order. This doesn't happen very often, and it doesn't happen unless there are concerns.
The situation stems from a dispute over fees with the Tall Cree First Nation in northern Alberta. 5 years ago, a court ordered Rath to refund $8.5 million to the First Nations Trust Fund, slashing a fee he charged for Tall Cree's $57 million Treaty 8 settlement. That trust was managed by Rath's firm, court documents show, for settlement money owed to band members who the band says were minors at the time. The First Nation alleges the trust was used for the repayment, claiming financial statements were withheld.
Even though there's not yet a judgment by the court, it certainly suggests that there is significant concern around the payment of fees, the management of this trust.
None of the allegations have been proven in court, and Rath has not yet responded to the allegations. Alberta's opposition NDP quick to respond to the claims, questioning the leadership of the separatist movement.
It speaks to the character of the people who are putting forward these messages that Alberta needs to consider separatism.
In a text message, Rath says he can't comment as the matter is before the courts, but he'll be providing a response in, quote, due course. The asset freeze order remains in effect until Wednesday, when another hearing on the matter is scheduled. Adam MacVicar, Global News, Calgary.
The U.S. president does a U-turn. Coming up, why Donald Trump backs down from his threat to take control of the Strait of Hormuz. The federal government is planning to build a research facility in Quebec to advance the production of military drones. A group of 30 organizations will get nearly $30 million over the next 2 years to establish and operate the center. The defense minister says drones are changing the way militaries operate, and Canada needs to be ready.
It will give the members of the Canadian Armed Forces more precise, safer, and more effective tools to carry out their missions.
It is part of a national network of facilities aimed at developing and strengthening defense capabilities. It will be based in Mirabel, already home to a major aerospace hub. He started the war against Iran along with Israel and has made multiple threats in the 4 months since, but still has not found a way out of the conflict. And today, the U.S. president backed down from a threat he made just yesterday to make ships passing through the Strait of Hormuz pay fees to the U.S. Jackson Prosco reports on why Donald Trump reversed course and where this leaves peace talks.
As the U.S. and Iran keep exchanging fire, and Iran keeps attacking ships, U.S. President Donald Trump is abandoning his latest plan for controlling the Strait of Hormuz.
It was never fair to me that we would be guarding the strait when we basically don't take anything.
Just a day after announcing the U.S. would charge a 20% toll for escorting ships through, Trump backtracked. He now claims Gulf nations will instead invest in the U.S. as reimbursement for military protection for their ships.
By doing it that way, there's no fee. They're investing and they're getting a return on their money, and it's good. But they're going to be making massive investments into the United States.
The blowback to Trump's toll proposal was unsurprising. Even American officials had previously said no country should charge for passage, a position echoed by the UN.
We believe that there must be free movement of shipping across the Strait of Hormuz.
Either way, it seems Trump is preparing to keep fighting Iran for the long haul. The president officially notified Congress that he has restarted the conflict, opening a 60-day window for renewed military operations without their authorization.
I think there was no other choice. Now, he should be working with Congress.
Israel, America's partner in the war, is ready to resume combat too. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu warned if attacked by Iran, he'd strike back twice as hard. With the Memorandum of Understanding in tatters and the U.S. reimposing its blockade on Iran's ports, the world is preparing for fresh disruptions to energy supplies, as it waits to see if the two sides can find their way back on the path to peace. Jackson Prosco, Global News, Washington.
Ahead is the opening of the Gordie Howe Bridge back on track. Canada is getting a new consul general in New York City. Former broadcaster Tom Clark was appointed to the role in 2023. He was caught in controversy over Ottawa's 2024 decision to buy a $9 million luxury condo in Manhattan. Clark testified he had no say in that decision. Global Affairs said it needed to replace an aging residence that was appropriate for hosting guests. The new consul general is Susanna Pierce, a former Shell Canada executive. The federal government is refusing to release information about the deal to open the new Gordie Howe International Bridge, which connects Ontario and Michigan. That bridge is set to open at the end of July, but Global News has learned the details are not yet finalized. Mackenzie Gray reports on what's still unclear and what concessions Canada has had to make.
16 months after becoming Prime Minister, Mark Carney has cut his first deal with the Americans.
This has really been a 25-year journey from the start of the conversation until the day the Gordie Howe Bridge opens.
But to get that done, the Prime Minister gave in on two prerequisites the U.S. Ambassador to Canada told Global News were needed to get the bridge open.
We're looking at two issues that concern control of the bridge, tariff setting, where the money flows.
A press release from the Liberals says Canada and Michigan have agreed on those issues, but when asked by Global News to publicly release the details, Carney's office said it was only an agreement in principle and would not commit to sharing text of the new agreement, despite the original bridge deal being public. As we work towards this opening, officials in both countries are finalizing the legal and administrative details, and we will continue to provide updates as this work proceeds. Infrastructure Minister Greg Robertson was also unavailable for an interview.
We're just expected to take the word of the Prime Minister that it's a good deal for Canada without any scrutiny around what side arrangements might have been there.
A senior government source tells Global News Canada has agreed to give up 50% of the profits from the bridge, money that will go into an American-controlled fund. Canada, who paid the entire $6.4 billion to build the bridge, was supposed to get all the money until they were made whole. But it's not a worry for Windsor's mayor.
I don't think there are going to be any net profits to split for the first 15 years. In fact, probably for the first 30 to 50 years.
Canada also giving the Americans a veto on any toll increases above 10% and aren't allowed to drop fares below comparable regional averages, according to the same source. A win for major Trump donor, the Maroon family, who also owns the rival Ambassador Bridge.
It's very important that Donald Trump, who's not a conventional president, who does not negotiate with anyone in conventional ways, gets an opportunity to show his win in a deal.
The bridge is supposed to open July 27th, but we've been here before, Donna, with a ribbon cutting previously set for June scuttled due to the Americans wanting additional concessions from Canada.
Okay, Mackenzie Gray in Ottawa, thank you. Next, we now know one team headed to the World Cup final. Spain is headed to the World Cup final. They comfortably beat France 2-0 today and advanced to the championship game for the second time in Spain's history. Who they face depends on the winner of the England versus Argentina game. That kicks off in Atlanta tomorrow. Well, if you're fortunate enough to have enough spare cash to buy yachts or private jets, why not branch out into rare fossils? A Tyrannosaurus Rex skeleton just sold at auction for the highest price ever paid for a dinosaur, $50 million US. It may be good for the mystery bidder, but as Mike Armstrong explains, it could leave museums priced out of the market.
It spent about 67 million years underground and 2 weeks on the auction block. The Sotheby's auction house had hoped for 20 to 30 million. Gus the T-Rex jumped way past that.
Sold $43 million.
Well, actually, that was the winning bid. Add in the auction house fees and the price to be paid passed $50 million US.
We've been working on it for 5 years. This is our longest term project ever.
Now, Gus was discovered by a fossil company on a cattle ranch in South Dakota. The owner had invited them to look for dinosaur bones, and they found some. Gus, who was, by the way, named after the late owner of the ranch, is one of the most complete T-Rex skeletons ever found, and one of the largest.
One of the challenges of working on something that's 40 feet long and 15 feet high is just space, and that's why we're on a pickleball court, because it's really one of the only places in town that will house this thing.
Well, that's someone else's problem now, the still anonymous buyers. But some paleontologists say a fossil this rare shouldn't be a collectible. In fact, if Gus had been found in Canada, he wouldn't have ended up on the auction block.
The United States is the only country in the world where fossils like this are considered personal property.
Setting a new record price may be good news for the ranch owner and the company that found Gus, but there's concern that as prices rise, institutions meant to preserve and study fossils may no longer be able to afford them. Mike Armstrong, Global News, Montreal.
And that is Global National for this Tuesday. I'm Donna Friesen. Tonight's Your Canada is Saanich, BC. We would love to see your Canada. Please email it to globalnational@globalnews.ca. And thanks for watching. Hope to see you here again tomorrow. Bye-bye.